Welcome back to day 8, Dram 8, and Dave is back in the hat. We're going to get straight into it. No mucking around this time, you know the rules. If you don't, check back to an earlier episode. We are going straight ahead with this one.
There we are now, allowing the blindfold to come off before tasting the whiskey.
Yes, there's been a revision of the rules. So we can observe things like chill filtration, presence or absence
Colour, texture, oils.
So, I don't know whether to call this one easy or hard. I think it might depend on how much whiskey you drink. So this one, conceivably, was going to be a bit harder for Dave than it would be for me, inveterate bottle finisher that I am. So, see how we go though.
It is a suitably ambiguous statement. It means you keep an open mind, consider all kinds of possibilities that good knows I haven't considered, which is a bit paradoxical, honestly.
I don't even know what that means, but we'll get round to
yes.
it. One moment, and away we go.
Okay, it's safe for me to...
It is safe.
Regain the powers of sight. Jolly good.
This one, I think, you thought your last one was confounding. This one is going to...
Oh, that's...
It's going to up the confoundment. Now, remember what I said about colour?
Yes, it may be real, it may be revelatory, it may be hot nonsense.
And it's almost, that's, given the whiskies out there, the hot nonsense, that's 50 to 60% of the whiskey out there, I'd say.
That's a rather dark colour, so it could be an old whiskey, it could simply be coloured. That nose straight away is screaming to me, but this is some manner of blend. Nothing is coming through clear cut. I think there is a whiff of peat there. The merest tinge.
I'm getting a tinge.
So not a fully or heavily peated whiskey by any stretch. So I think a blend that's got some peat within its makeup. But, there is quite a lot of oil clinging on there though. So this is possibly something quite rich and quite strong. I could be utterly mistaken, but there's a good amount of goo hanging onto the glass.
Alright, I think that's our first assumption made by the nature of the legs of the whiskey. Of course, big, thick, slow legs coming down the glass is usually an indication of a richer, more full-bodied, concentrated whiskey.
Okay, that's actually got a lot more peat happening on the tongue than I expected. Not a huge amount of fiery heat, so possibly not something of stonking great strength. I'm actually getting a little bit thrown here. I'm kind of on the borderline as to whether this is some sort of blend or possibly one of the more obscure, lightly peated Islay single malts.
Well, let's break it down. Yes. What are you tasting?
There is a sort of a lightly fruity sort of body to it, some heft, but some very gentle flavours layered on top of it, like an oily thickness, a sturdy body, but not a lot of intense flavours carried along with that. There's a gentle amount of peat, a little bit of salt.
Well, as we sort of mentioned earlier, the presence of peat, which this makes your job harder, not easier. The presence of peat has a really good ability to mask grain whiskey. So that will obfuscate whether this is. It makes it much less clear cut calling peated blends or otherwise.
My initial impressions were blend on account of a lack of a standout sherry character or bourbon character or anything that's a hallmark of a particular age statement or cask type.
Well, are we locking in blend? Because that determines where we go next.
Yeah, I've got a lock in blend.
Locking in blend, all right. So that exempts you from the region.
Yes. It's a blend that has got some peat, but not vast amounts.
Which means you go straight to jail and have to guess what we're drinking.
Yeah, I think this is possibly one of a slightly more boutique blend. Well, obviously it's coming from this box, which has delivered some real crackers. But I'm thinking possibly a blend that favours a lot of older whiskey. I'm not sure if this is just a pure malt blend or if there may be some grain there too. I've been 100% wrong on blends so far as to whether they are all malt or if they are in fact grain in malt blends. So, okay, just for the sake of picking something and sticking to it, I'm going to say This is a blend. It is an older blend, but it does contain grain whiskey.
All right. But you have to say which one.
Man.
Come on.
I just can't.
Cast the long line out.
Yes. Has Monkey Shoulder come up?
Monkey Shoulder has. That was
that's
our
right.
second whiskey.
No, I'm
No,
drawing
we're
a blank.
forfeiting the last point.
Yeah.
Well, by way, you're going to kick yourself now.
All right.
I'll introduce this whiskey to you by asking whether you'd like a top up. Lean forward.
Whoop.
Your friend and mine,
It is Johnny Walker Black.
Johnny Walker Black Label.
Wow. Okay.
I think that's a bit of a have putting that in a selection. Everyone's got some of this. Anyway, so Johnny Walker Black Label, you got it pretty well right.
Yeah, so it's a blend.
It
but
is
it's
indeed
a
a blend,
influenced blend,
and it is
and
indeed
it's an
a
older
peated
blend.
Yeah,
because it's 12 years old, right? Is the old Johnny Black?
it is.
Wow. So it means I was kind of, except for picking the fact that it's JW Black. I was.
Yeah,
otherwise pretty accurate.
you were in terms of the raw information.
Yeah.
You were absolutely correct. It is absolutely a blend.
I feel validated.
And it is absolutely a peated blend. I would have gone for the guess. There's so few peated blends out there. I would have probably done something dumb like Black Bottle, but no, Jay, your friend and mine, Johnny Walker 12. So there you go. We will be right back with, I've lost count, number 9. Number 9 up next. So stay with us. Hope you can keep up. Slanger, we'll be right back.